Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Lily. I am so happy that you are here with me today. In today's video, I am going to work on a junk journal cover, and I'm also working on my design team project in collaboration with Yvette from Tu Casa De Papel, and I will be using one of her digital printable kits to create the cover. I'll show you the cover in just a second. Once I flip the camera over, I'm going to go through all of the digitals that are in this one kit that I will be using for this journal. And let me bring them up just so you can see how beautiful they are. This kit is called Amor Eterno, which is forever love. Isn't that gorgeous? Isn't that beautiful? Just in time for Valentine's Day or for the month of friendship, the month of love. I'm going to flip through each and every one of these pages as soon as I flip the camera over. But take a look at this one page. Each single page in this kit is absolutely gorgeous, but I selected one of them to use for the cover of the journal. Let me show you what that looks like. I know that I like to save the reveal for the end. You know, we work on the project and then we wait until the very end to see what the final result is, but I'm going to give you a sneak peek. But before I do that, I'm also going to show you how we take a plain cereal box, okay? Cereal box, and transform it into something absolutely gorgeous, you guys. Do you want to see? Do you want to see how gorgeous it turned out? Look at how beautiful this is. And let me show you really quick again. So this is one of the, over here. This is one of the digital printables. Let me scoot back. Okay, this is one of the pages, and it's the one that I selected for the topper of this junk journal. I'm also going to show you how I Mod Podge, because there's Mod Podge on the digital, and I've made these, or this style where I Mod Podge the front cover in the past, and I've had so many questions of you asking, how do I get the Mod Podge on the digital printable without it smearing? I don't know, but I'm going to show you what I do, and it works great for me. Okay, so we're going to go through all of those steps, and it started out like this. This is what the cover started out, and then we turned it into this. Look at all the dimension. I'm going to show you how I accomplished this look with these flowers, and then all the other little embellishments that I use, but most importantly is how I Mod Podged on this digital printable, and look at how gorgeous that is. Let me show you the spine, and then let me also show you the back, which is also Mod Podge, but this is just regular cardstock. I do this to some of my journals just to kind of add some protection to it. I should do it to all of them, but sometimes I just forget. But I don't forget when it comes to the digital printables, because you know, I just want to make sure that these are long lasting because of the thinner materials that I use for the front cover. Okay. So there's the inside. We're going to go through all of this in just a moment, but oh my, tell me you just absolutely love it. It is so gorgeous. I can't believe it. Okay. So in this video, again, we're only going to do the cover. Notice how I haven't done anything to the inside yet, but I will be using the digital printables along with other things to put the journal all together, but that will be in a future video. Today, we are going to concentrate on the cover alone. All right, you guys ready to get started? Let's turn that camera over. I just love how beautiful, how pretty this display looks. All these beautiful hues of pinks and reds. Isn't it pretty? I think the hardest thing was to decide on which digital kit I was going to use. There are so many amazing kits that Yvette has in her Etsy shop that it's really hard to decide which one I'm going to work on next. But I knew I wanted to work with pinks and with reds, and she has several, everything she has. And so depending on what you're looking for, what hues you want to work with, she'll have something for you. But for right now, this is what I'm really attracted to. I mean, I started out the year with a couple of pink journals, and who knows, maybe I'll carry this color out through the year. But I'm showing you each and every page. This is the Amor Eterno digital kit.
which means never-ending love. It is beautiful, the images, the colors. And then I've backed these with a different digital called Pensamientos, which Pensamientos means thoughts. And it is um, a great digital kit for journaling. And so I wanted to make sure that I also had pages that allowed you to add some journaling. And not all of them will be back. Some of them I have left just plain white, and I have other plans for those. I do use HP 32-pound weight paper to print my digitals. And it is a beautiful, beautiful paper to work with. It is satiny smooth. It is super white, and it just makes your colors pop when you are printing digitals. And I'm going to show you the difference here. This is printed on HP 32-pound paper, and I have that in my Amazon affiliate link, and that is down below. And then this one here, I printed on regular matte sticker paper, nothing fancy. I picked this up at the craft store, and you can see the subtle difference between the two. The one on the left-hand side is more muted, and then I plan on cutting these out because they are sticker paper. They look great, but you can see how they are a little more muted than the ones on the right-hand side, which I printed on the HP Premium 32 paper. Not a big difference, but if this is important to you, just keep that in mind. The paper you use does make a difference, and I highly recommend the HP Premium 32-pound paper. Okay, so I am going to use this one for the topper, and I wanted to make sure that I didn't use the one that I had printed on the reverse side. I made an extra copy to use in the signatures when I get to that point in a separate video. These are all of the things that I have selected for the cover of the journal. I've had that applique for several years, and I just couldn't wait to use it. And this digital kit is a perfect design to use that applique with. Okay, we are going to use a cereal cover or a cereal box to create the cover. The cereal box is a perfect substrate to use as the foundation of your cover. I have an in-depth video showing you how to cut down a cereal box to use it as a junk journal cover, and I'm going to link it down below and also up above on this frame. If I showed you that here in this video, we would be here for days, you guys. But I do want to let you know that this started out as a cereal cover, and then I layered on top of it with some old heavy-duty file folders that I had in my stash, and then just layered those. But again, that video on how I turn a plain, simple cereal box into a cover will be linked down below. But can you believe that I take a cereal box and turn it into this beautiful, beautiful cover? And you can do the same thing too. It is super easy, and we all have cereal or even cookie boxes that we can transform and use. Okay, moving on. I'm going to show you how I altered these beautiful paper flowers, and I used different types of inks to accomplish this look. I used Distress ink spray. I also used alcohol inks, and I used Dilutions shimmer spray. And I was playing around with the supplies that I had, not really sure which one was going to work best for these paper flowers. And that is the reason why I just grabbed things that were in my stash. And I also grabbed a couple of gold sprays. One of them, of course, my favorite, Heidi Swapp Gold Shine. And then I also grabbed Tim Holtz's gold spray. Not as shiny as the Heidi Swapp, but I love it just as much. And these are the flowers that I picked up at the craft store. They are beautiful as they are, but I really wanted to work with something that had more red and pink hues in it. And so I'm going to show you in just a moment how I obtained that color on these paper flowers. I will caution you though, if you are going to try this, I recommend you use some gloves, because by the end of this video, I had ink all over my hands. This is a beautiful piece of fabric that I picked up at the craft store, and it is a 100% cotton fabric, and it has a beautiful gold floral design, and that is what I am going to use on the spine of the of the cover. Excuse me. I am measuring just to make sure that when I cut down the papers, the digital that I'm using for the front cover, and then also the cardstock, which I'm going to be using for the back cover, I want to make sure that I cut it down to the exact size. And so measure twice, cut once, and not the other way around, you guys, because I have made this mistake so many times. My cover is 8.5 by 6 inches, but I'm going to cut my paper down just a little bit under 6 inches. The papers are already 8.5 inches in length, and I'm going to go 5 3/4. I'm not going to do the full 6 inches because then it would get into the fold lines of the spine. So just a little bit under 6 inches, and that is going to work out just fine. So my papers will end up being 8.5 by 5 3/4. The most important thing to do here is work on your wet mediums first. So I'm cutting these down because the next step is to Mod Podge. And I talked about how I am going to Mod Podge the papers. I'm going to show you what works for me. So we're going to start with that first, because then I'm going to set it aside so that it dries. And after I do the Mod Podge, I'm going to work on the flowers and do the same thing, set them aside to dry. So we want to work with the wet mediums first and then work with the dry mediums. That gives ample time for your wet projects to dry. So I'm just placing everything here just to make sure that everything coordinates perfectly, and it does. I love the way this looks. And if you had asked me the day before what I'd be working on today, I wouldn't have been able to tell you. I had to sleep on it because I didn't know what I was going to be doing or how it was all going to come together. Okay. This is Mod Podge in an old art glitter glue bottle. This works great for me so that I don't have to dip into that 64-ounce tub. By placing it into a bottle, it just makes it so much easier to work with. I am going to do a thin layer of the Mod Podge. My tip, you guys, is to print your digitals in advance. And I mean several days in advance. I use an HP OfficeJet Pro 8710 inkjet printer, and I use 952 XL HP ink. And I've been doing this for a long time. I print my digitals in advance. This gives the digitals or the ink on my papers ample time for it to dry. I do not Mod Podge the same day that I print my papers. I've not tried it that way, but I'm not going to take a chance. I don't have any issues with this, with it smearing or blending all of the colors. And I've been doing this with my digitals for a while now, and I've not had any issues. And I think it's because I print these several days in advance, let them completely dry, and then I get to my project. So that would be my recommendation. It may not be the answer, but let me tell you, it does work for me. I have no issue with smearing the inks after I've Mod Podged it. And I just do a very thin layer. And this, remember, this I printed this on the HP Premium 32 paper. So it's a little bit heavier than regular copy paper, but it holds the Mod Podge just fine. And again, it's just a thin layer. And I am going to set it aside to dry. I do not take my heat tool to dry it because it dries fairly quick. Many of you have asked how I do this, and so I hope that this is helpful to you. Give it a try and see if that makes a difference. If you have Mod Podged digital printables and your ink has smeared, try printing them in advance, letting them completely dry, and then let me know if that works for you. I'm also going to Mod Podge the cardstock, and this adds an extra layer of protection to your papers. It's something I would like to do with all of the covers. of my journals, but quite honestly, I forget to do it. I know to do it for the digital printables, but when it comes to all of the other types of papers, I sometimes forget. I also like altering little golden books. And some of those little golden books may be really old and the papers sometimes are flaking off, the top cover of the little golden books. So I will also use Mod Podge on the older little golden books. But I think it's something that I will try to incorporate and do on all of my journal covers for longevity and for durability as well, just to protect it. It is a book after all, and we will be going through it. And I think if we add that extra layer of protection, our journals, will last much longer. And again, just a very thin coat. And I like that satin sheen that the Mod Podge gives to the paper. It's not glossy, but it's also not matte. It has a very light satin finish. So if you hold it up to the light, you can kind of tell that it has a protective layer on top, and I like that look. Not too glossy, not too matte. I'm using a Tim Holtz media, collage media brush, and they come in a couple of different sizes, and I do have a wider one, but I could not find it. Don't know where it is. I don't know how it is that my supplies vanish from the tabletop. Don't know how that happens. This is my yellow towel that I normally use to collect all of the off spray from the inks that I use. And you can tell I've been using this a lot to protect my surface and to protect the surroundings. But guess what I'm going to do from this day forward? I am taking a piece of canvas and I'm going to use that as the backdrop so it gathers all of the inks and the sprays. I was inspired to do this by Dion Woods. She goes by the Turquoise Iris on YouTube and also on Instagram. She is a painter, a designer, and she does this where she creates a backdrop with canvas and then she uses the canvas in her designs and her projects. And I just thought that was such a clever idea. And since I like to use with paint and inks, I thought I need to go get some canvas and I need to create some painty canvas just organically and then use them maybe for future junk journal covers or other things like that. So we'll see how this goes and how this turns out. So you can see how it's already catching that beautiful ink spray. And oh my gosh, I can't wait to see what this looks like maybe at the end of the year. I'm taking my Tim Holtz Distress ink. But before that, I did spray with a little bit of water and then added the Distress ink. And for about a minute or so, I did use my heat tool to get the drying time moving. I recorded this video nonstop. So it took me about an hour and a half to create this cover. And I've edited out about 30 minutes and it's the drying time. But just so you know, it did take me about an hour and a half. I will typically do things like this the night before and let them dry overnight. But for the sake of the video, I use my heat tool to kind of speed things along. That Dilutions Fuchsia Shimmer Spray is absolutely gorgeous. These are inks, you guys, that I've rarely used. And the Distress ink, I don't think I've ever used it. And also the Dilution Spray, I can't remember the last time I used it. And then I know for a fact that this alcohol ink color I've never used. So I went through my supplies to see which one worked best. And it was a pleasant surprise to discover that they all worked fantastic on the paper flowers. So if you don't have one, maybe you have the other. Maybe you have watercolors that you can splatter on or even dilute acrylic paints. I was ready to do that if these hadn't turned out as nice as they did. I don't know if I am doing this properly. It's the first time I use alcohol ink on paper flowers like this. And I'm just loving the way this turned out. the the rose, the red rose on the upper left is inked with the same alcohol ink. But once I dried it, the color deepened into a deeper red color, and I just love. So while it was wet, it looks much more vibrant. But you could see that once the flowers dried, they changed color just a little bit. But I love the way they turned out. So you can see how my hands are all inky now. Yeah, so wear gloves if you don't want inky hands. I didn't mind. And the canvas, I think, is going to turn out so beautiful. So, yeah. I can't wait to see what this looks like. So you can see the different variations in the color once they dried. So now I'm going to use Tim Holtz's gold, and I'm going to spray a little bit of that onto the color. And the reason I'm using both Tim Holtz's gold and also the Heidi Swapp Gold Shine is they are different. This one is more matte. It doesn't have a lot of shine, but it will add dimension to my flowers. And I'm going to smush them up a little bit. I couldn't get the ink out of the spray nozzle, but that's okay. I prefer using it this way anyway, because I like the blobs and the splatter look. And I am just loving how this canvas is going to pick up all of those different inks and sprays that I plan on using. I can't wait to see the finished canvas. It'll be several months for sure. And now I'm just going to smush these little flowers together, kind of grungy them up a little bit. It also helps spread the gold and make sure that it really gets into all of those little crevices, and it helps with drying time as well. So now I'm going to use my absolute favorite Gold Shine, and it's going to make me so sad once this is gone, because I only have a tiny bit left in that bottle, almost completely gone. And so that's another reason why I decided to go with the canvas, so it'll catch some of that Gold Shine that I just love to use. And again, I'm going to smush the flowers together, and this gold will add a little bit of shine to the flowers. I'm not being careful. I'm just smushing them all together. I didn't know I was going to be doing this. I kind of just played it by ear, you know? None of this was planned. So you are watching as I am creating in real time. And I just love the way it turned out. I love the results. And now I'm going to set my canvas aside for the next project. First thing I'm going to do now, as I am letting my flowers dry and also allowing for the Mod Podge papers to dry, is I am going to add the fabric to the spine. The best glue to use for fabric is the Beacon Fabri-Tac or the Fabrifix, or even the 3-in-1 glue. These are all made by the same manufacturer, which is Beacon. This glue will not seep through the fabric. It dries clear. It does not wrinkle your fabric or your paper. And it's also pliable, so it doesn't dry stiff. And because I have ink on my hands, I'm using this spatula that I took from my dad's toolbox in the garage. Please, nobody tell him that. And that is to smooth it out. Otherwise, I would use my hand and smooth out the fabric over that glue. And I'm going in sections because this glue does tend to dry fast. And so I'm working with one small section at a time. And then smoothing it out just to make sure that everything is, I'm trying to get it as wrinkle-free as possible. Sometimes I will iron my fabric before using it on my journals. Sometimes I will do that. And then other times I just do this and smooth it out. But it works out. So yes, this is the best glue to use when it comes to fabric, because what you don't want is for your glue to seep through the fabric and and sometimes it doesn't fully dry and you can feel the tack on the top layer. So if you're able to, use this glue. And then smooth it all out. I'm trying not to touch the fabric. As you can see, I already have some inking on the cover. So I'm trying to be very careful, but I will cover that with the cardstock and the digital print. I should have probably paused and gone to go wash my hands before I worked with the fabric, but I will do that up ahead, go and give my hands a little rinse. I am grabbing my zigzag scissors, my pinking shears. I always forget to say pinking shears. And these are for fabric only, and I'm sure you noticed it says fabric on the scissors, and I know they're only for fabric. But if anyone were to ever get into my scissor drawer, it would be clearly visible that these are not meant for paper. These are only for fabric, and I've had these for several years, from when I was still living in California and I was still working in Pasadena. So gosh, maybe 2017. Yeah, because I think that's the last time I worked out there in Pasadena, 2017 or 18. So they've lasted a really long time, and they are just as sharp as day one. And I really like that decorative edge. You don't have to use pinking shears. You can tear it to the exact size, or you can just cut straight across with regular scissors. But I do like the way that little ziggy-zaggedy looks on the edges. I've now taken a second piece of fabric to line the inside of the cover. And then up ahead, I will also take some papers, beautiful scrapbooking papers, and line the inside of the cover. I probably should have waited and cut the fabric at the same time. But I'm telling you, this isn't planned. I am kind of winging it and just creating as I go. I really don't overthink things. I just go at my own pace and work one thing at a time. I don't think too far out in advance. When I was gathering up all of my supplies, I was looking for pink hues. I was looking for floral elements. And so I went through and shopped my stash and kind of gathered things that I thought would work together. All except for those flowers. And so I was actually initially going to use the flowers as they were, but then I realized that if I had red flowers or brighter pink flowers, that they may look even better. And so that's why I opted to color. Okay, this right here, I am thinking about what glue to use on the reverse of these papers to glue them down to the cover. And I should have used like art glitter glue or even the Mod Podge as glue. And the reason is the fumes from the Fabri-Tac activated the Mod Podge on the digital on the other side a little bit. And so I had to allow for more time because it got a little bit tacky. It's weird how that did that. It had some type of chemical reaction. And when I placed it down, and as I was pressing it down, I noticed that it kind of got a little bit tacky. It's weird how the Fabri-Tac reactivated the Mod Podge. And it dried. It's not a bad thing. But I needed to allow it to dry a little bit more. So in hindsight, I should have used art glitter glue or the same Mod Podge to glue the digital onto the cover. I hope that makes sense. It didn't do that to the cardstock, and that's because the cardstock is much thicker, and so the fumes didn't go across. There was no chemical reaction there. And notice how I am not gluing to the very edge. I'm allowing about a ½ inch on that paper without any glue, and that's because I am going to take this cover to the sewing machine and I don't want glue on that very edge of the paper. So just remember that if you are going to take this to the sewing machine, try not to get glue on the outside edge so that your sewing needle doesn't get gummy or stuck or cause any jam as you're stitching. So it didn't take very long for the digital print to completely dry, even after adding the fabric tack to glue it down. But just know that it may do that. And I am just loving how this is turning out. And I'm sure this has happened to you, you know, when you're working, you have a vision and you have a certain design in mind, but you really don't know what it is going to look like until you move along and you're creating and you're piecing all the things together. And I really had to stand back and admire how wonderful this was turning out. So now I get to use this applique. Absolutely gorgeous. I could not wait to use this. And every time I worked on a journal, I would grab it to see if I could incorporate it into the design, and then I'd set it aside. So I'm so thrilled that I'm able to use it with this cover. I reached over to one of my ephemera drawers and I grabbed these beautiful little paper frames. They are by the Paper Studio, a brand that is carried at Hobby Lobby. And I thought, how would it look if I added a frame? And so this was not planned. I just kind of reached into that drawer and grabbed these. And now I'm just testing out all of the different colors and shapes to see if it will play well with the applique and the cover. And I really love the way this one turns out, this gold frame. Isn't it beautiful? I could have easily die cut some frames. I do have a couple of Tim Holtz dies where I can cut out my own frame, but I already had these at the ready, and that gold is just so beautiful. I'm telling you, I love working with gold. I just can't get enough of it. So I'm playing around with the flowers, still trying to decide if this is going to work well together. And as you can see, it is. Oh, I love how this cover is turning out. It is so beautiful. I love all the color. I love the digitals. I love all of the extra embellishments. So now this applique does have a sticky back, which you would typically use to iron on. But I'm not going to iron it. It's paper. It has Mod Podge. I'm not even going to do that. So I'm going to use the Fabrifix to glue it down. And I'm actually holding the finished cover in my hands right now. And the applique is completely glued down. I mean, if I try hard enough, of course, we can tear apart anything, but it really held down on that cover. And I know that I am going to be covering it with the flowers and with the frame, but layering the elements is something that I enjoy doing. I'm not afraid of, placing more beautiful things on top and creating more dimension. The applique would have looked beautiful as it is. Like I could have stopped there, but I couldn't. I couldn't stop. I had to keep going. I really wanted to play with those flowers. Even the digital, just the digital standalone would have been perfect. But I was really inspired to add all of these layers by Prima. So I follow Prima on Instagram, and I just love the way they work with flowers and frames and even household objects like spoons and forks and things like that. And they use a lot of mixed media and a lot of dimension and a lot of layering. And so if you are looking to learn how to layer things and create more dimensional artwork, I recommend you follow Prima on Instagram. They do amazing work with dimensional projects. And so I gain a lot of my inspiration from them when it comes to dimensional work like this. So I could have kept on going, but Wouldn't this be nice? Like if this wasn't a journal, wouldn't this be nice if it were created like on a canvas or a clipboard and just have it displayed as artwork? Oh my gosh, that would be amazing. You know what? I just gave myself an idea. I have a few clipboards that need some altering. What if I recreate this look or something similar on a clipboard? And then your clipboard can hang on a wall as an art piece. Oh my gosh. I'm going to do that. Let me write it down so that I don't forget. Altered clipboard inspired by my design team project with Tu Casa De Papel. I have to make detailed notes like that so I don't forget. Altered clipboard. I'm literally writing as I'm speaking. Inspo by DTP, and I actually put today's date. All right. I'm adding a lot of glue to these. I want to make sure that they are held in place. And the ultimate glue is perfect for this because it holds heavier weighted objects. It's great for metal, for glass, and for plastic, and for dimensional items like this. And it dries clear and it dries pretty fast. It grabs on. It's really, really tacky. Similar to the consistency of tacky glue, Aleene's tacky glue. I don't use Aleene's tacky glue very often. I do have a couple of bottles, but I don't use it. I don't know why. I used it long, long, long ago, like when I was creating decorative photo albums back in the 80s. That's when I used Aleene's tacky glue, and it seemed to work well back then. Maybe I should reintroduce it to my art projects. Okay. This is beautiful scrapbooking paper that I grabbed from my stash. It has beautiful gold foil heart design. And for this, I did grab my art glitter glue to glue the pages down. And these I also cut 8.5 by 5 3/4. I originally thought that I would use some of the digital printables to line the inside, but I'm going to save those for the signatures and for the embellishments and ephemera that I plan on using. And I'm actually going to print out a few more of the digitals, create duplicates, because I want to create some pockets and some envelopes from the digital printables. And so just a reminder, I will have Yvette's Tu Casa De Papel's Etsy shop linked in the description area below. And then just a reminder, I have a discount code that you can use towards any of her digital printables to save you 20% at checkout. And the code is LILY20, LILY20. Okay, I'm not done embellishing the cover. I know I told you I would stop, but I'm I'm going to keep going. I looked up and I have this little acrylic drawer that is full of metal embellishments. And these are beautiful keys by Tim Holtz. And I grabbed the one that says heart on it. Isn't that beautiful? I've been hoarding these keys for a long time. And this is the year, you guys. 2024 is when we use all of the supplies that we have been hoarding. That is what we are going to do. Even though they look great in my acrylic drawer, I know they're there. I love that they are there. I love having them there. But they look so much better in projects. And so I went and I grabbed a couple of trims. I grabbed some red velvet and then also this beautiful rose red satin trim, which is my favorite. I only have about 8 inches left of this. Oh, and if I could only remember where I got it from. But I am trimming it down, and I opted for this one. It's much lighter, and it was easier. It's easier to work with because it is a satin ribbon. And though the velvet trim would have also been beautiful, it's a lot thicker, and it wouldn't have tied as easily. But I'll save that for later. And I'm just going to distress and grungy up that satin ribbon. And voila, there it is. I'm also going to use the ultimate glue to glue that metal key down. And again, I am holding the journal in my hands right now, and I am testing the key, and oh man, that key is not going to budge. I let it dry overnight and it dried completely clear and it is solid. And that is my favorite glue. The Ultimate Glue is my favorite glue to use for metal embellishments. It will really hold those down. The Collage Medium by Ranger by Tim Holtz does the same, but it takes much longer to dry. So either or. So just smushing everything down, making sure that it is all held in place. Making sure everything is even, and before I take it to the sewing machine so that I can stitch all the way around. I use gold thread to do a zigzag stitch all around the perimeter of the journal, and then the bobbin thread is a rose red, and you'll see that in just a moment. But I just love the gold zigzag thread. It is a nice little detail, and I do tend to do this on maybe, 99% of my journals. All my journals except the little golden books. I don't think I've done it to the little golden books, but you'll see it on all of my other journals. So now it's time to add some of the finishing touches. I'm going to add these wide eyelets. They are by We Are Memory Keepers. I have an Amazon storefront, and my affiliate link will be linked down below. And so these are by We Are Memory Keepers. I have items like this, the eyelets listed, and also the crocodile, all of the different adhesives that I use, and a lot of the Tim Holtz products that I used here. I also have all of those linked in my Amazon storefront. And then just so you know, I do earn a small commission when you make a purchase from my Amazon storefront, but that doesn't affect your price at all. And if you do make a purchase from my Amazon storefront, thank you in advance, you guys, because that commission, as little as it is, it does help so that I can buy the supplies that I need to create free content for you. And I want to keep it that way. I want to continue to create free content with you and continue sharing my passion, my love of paper and paper crafting, junk journaling, and all the other things that I do. I want to continue to provide this free content for you. So thank you in advance for supporting my jam, you guys. So I measured the center of the cover. And so I marked it at 4 1/4 inches, and then just grabbed a pen and made a little dot so I know exactly where to punch out that hole and add the wide eyelet. The eyelets come in an array of colors, and the gold is my favorite, but I use all of them. And when I run out of the gold ones, what I'll do is use any other color that I have, and then I'll take a little bit of the gold wax that I have and then just kind of add it to the metal, and then just let it dry, and then it gives it a little gold shine. I've also used paint to paint the wide eyelets, and you can also use alcohol markers. And so if you only buy one color, know that you can alter the color with your supplies. See the red thread on the inside? It looks so pretty. And I'm going to leave all of those strings. I love leaving the strings. It looks kind of grungy. It looks a little bit junky. And I just love how it turned out. I'm also adding a eyelet to the top of the spine because I do plan on having something dangle from the spine, either some ribbons or a charm, but something will be dangling from there. I don't add I always say photo corners. I mean book corners, because I'm not sure if I will add the book corners to this journal. I'm looking at it right now and I still haven't decided because it just looks beautiful as it is. So I'm not sure if I will be adding those or not. But there you go. We are getting close to the end, showing you all the finishing touches. I just love how this turned out. Please let me know down below if you have enjoyed watching how I put this together. Oh my, I cannot believe how well the digitals coordinated with all of the other embellishments. It's like they were meant to be. And that red, that lacy doily on the digital printable is my absolute favorite. So I will probably end up printing that one several times and using it throughout the journal. I just love it. It almost looks like it has texture on it. Like it doesn't even look like it's a print. You guys, thank you for watching. I'm going to flip the camera over before I leave and say goodbye to you.
You guys, thank you so much for joining me today as we created this beautiful, beautiful journal. I know the video is a little bit long, but I think every minute was worth it from beginning to end, how to create this beautiful journal. Oh my gosh, I sure hope that you gather all of your supplies and then get some digital printables from Yvette's Tu Casa De Papel and create one of these for yourself, right? And oh yeah, I forgot to mention, don't forget to use my discount code Lily20 for all of Yvette's digital printables on her Etsy shop. Now I'm going to put it right here so that you don't forget it. Jot it down. It is Lily20 so that at checkout you can save you can save 20% off of any of her digital printables, okay? So there you go. There you have it. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate you very much, and I will see you next time. Bye.